Hey, this is Forrest with Forrest Outdoor and Adventure, and in this video I'd like to share with you guys the pros and cons of driving an older vehicle. If somebody handed me the keys to a brand new truck or SUV or the keys to this 41-year-old Toyota Land Cruiser behind me, I'm picking the Toyota Land Cruiser every single time. And hopefully by the end of this video, you'll understand why. So this vehicle here in front of me is a 1985 Toyota Land Cruiser BJ74. This truck is currently sitting on a 2.5-inch Old Man Emu suspension lift, as well as 33-inch Maxxis mud tires. But let me show you some cool things about it. If we open the door right here, what you would expect here in America is a steering wheel. However, this is from Japan. It's a right-hand drive vehicle. This also has a 5-speed manual transmission as well as a manual transfer case. On the front here, you're also going to find manual locking hubs, which is something you don't see nowadays. Underneath the front end of the vehicle here, you're going to find one of the most reliable things, and that is the solid Toyota axle with the swivel hubs. You're going to find the original glass headlights, a manual hood latch, and underneath the hood, you're going to find what you guys all came for. That is the 13 BTA turbo diesel from Toyota. This is an ultra reliable turbo diesel Toyota produced in everything from industrial grade equipment to big trucks as well as your Land Cruisers. Now this vehicle is from 1985, so it is quite old and it doesn't share any of the new car characteristics that lots of vehicles do have. The very first point I'd love to touch on in this video is simplicity. Now simplicity is very important with the vehicle you choose to daily drive. Simplicity is not something, however, that you get out of a lot of newer vehicles, especially when it comes to maintenance and repairs. This vehicle, however, is very simplistic as far as repair work goes. This is a mechanical diesel engine, meaning it does not use a computer to operate. It has no ECU. This Land Cruiser simply just relies on compression and the starter in order to get it started, and it should run every single time. The other thing that makes this vehicle very simplistic is the transmission. A lot of new vehicles use up to a 10-speed automatic transmission that requires computer programming to run. Now, if those computer programs ever go bad, you're going to really be stuck unless you can make it to a dealer. These are known to be extremely heavy-duty transmissions. However, if I do lose a gear at one point and I'm way out in the bush, I still have 4 more to get home. Without having a major catastrophic failure, that is. Keep in mind, the first bunch of these points is going to be pertaining to all the mechanical stuff about old vehicles, and then there's going to be a lot of stuff that is more opinion-based towards the end of this video. So yes, the turbo diesel that's under the hood of this is known to be pretty reliable and go a lot of miles, or kilometers in this vehicle's case. The other thing I really enjoy about the reliability of this is that it has all mechanical gauges. The other thing I enjoy about old vehicles in particular, a lot of them are just equipped with a single radio. There's no massive screen here in the front, a bunch of buttons to figure out. This is just equipped with a single DIN radio right here, and the rest is going to be all ashtray holders and cigarette lighters. Not that we use those, but it's very simplistic, and most old vehicles are very simplistic in that sense. This single DIN radio is going to cost you about $60 to replace if it ever goes bad. Now, the speaker quality is not that great in old vehicles, so that is something you could consider upgrading. The next two things to add to the simplicity category are the ease of maintenance and repair. Now, if you're not comfortable doing repair work on an older vehicle yourself, it's at least going to cost you a lot less if you take an older vehicle like this to a mechanic, especially from the electronic side. A lot of the new vehicles, you have to send them through a mechanic-specific computer program, and I've got a lot of mechanic friends, and I can tell you a lot of the newer vehicles have special computer programs that are proprietary to the dealer. So for example, on some of your new Ford trucks and GM trucks, they all have to go back to the dealer to get reprogrammed if you have any parts go out. And sometimes actual physical parts aren't bad, but the computers inside of them go bad. This vehicle, however, being that it's all mechanical, if I ever did take it in to get worked on, problems could be diagnosed usually extremely fast. There's going to be no added computer softwares telling me what I can and can't do. If you get really lucky, you can find an old vehicle that was just stored away with super low miles, and that vehicle is still capable of going potentially hundreds of thousands of miles at an extremely lower cost than it would be to purchase a new car or a new truck. This vehicle I have behind me has 264,000 kilometers on it. It's about halfway through its service life if I maintain it well. So one of my biggest gripes with new vehicles is that they are built to be replaced and not repaired. This vehicle right behind me, as well as a whole plethora of other old vehicles, are meant to be repaired rather than replaced. That sort of brings me back to my other point. Lots of things in life nowadays are designed to be replaced rather than repaired. I really think driving an old vehicle like this puts you in that mindset in life to repair things rather than replace, and you'll end up saving a ton of money doing this in the long run. So the next really big point I want to make before it gets dark here on me is the cost of an older vehicle. So the average vehicle payment right now in the United States is about $600 plus per month, which over the course of 5 years, of course, is going to be about $36,000. Now, you can get a really good quote-unquote beater car for nowadays $5,000 to $10,000 that's still got a ton of life left in it. Now, if it's kind of a collector car like a Land Cruiser or something else that's going to be your project vehicle, maybe it will cost more than that. But in general, driving an older vehicle is going to cost you much less. Also, because it costs much less, your insurance is going to be much less. Because it's not a new vehicle, your insurance company isn't going to require full coverage, which allows you to really knock those insurance payments way down. Also, to add to the parts cost, with many old vehicles, parts are super cheap. This Land Cruiser is a little bit of an exception because it's an imported vehicle, but I have plenty of older Chevys that you can find all the parts under the engine bay, 20, 30, 50 bucks a piece. They're not thousands of dollars like they are on all the new vehicles. As well as the maintenance cost, if you decide to take your car or truck to a mechanic, the mechanic's going to have a way easier time replacing parts, and it's going to knock your labor costs down so much. So the next thing that I really wanted to touch on is the character of these older vehicles. A couple character points, things to note: they are loud. They smell. Depending on what vehicle you end up getting, it could be slow. The reason I like older vehicles is when you drive them on the road, they have a very heavy mechanical feel and you feel extremely safe. So I don't want to touch on too many of the pros for this Toyota Land Cruiser because I've already got a whole video about this Land Cruiser, which I'll link in the description below. But I can touch on a few of them for you that do pertain to almost all old vehicles. So a really nice pro with old vehicles is you don't necessarily have to be afraid of where you park or if you scratch it. People are afraid to go into mall parking lots, get their doors dinged, scratched, park really far away. With a vehicle like this, I don't worry at all. If somebody wants to give me a door ding, it's not the first door ding on there. If I get a paint chip or scratch when I'm off-roading, it's not the first paint chip or scratch. If any rust starts to try to develop, there's already rust there. Doesn't really affect me at all, and I'm capable of fixing it. There's just something about driving classic cars. When you're driving around town, you just get that feel of a simpler time, listening to a simple radio and shifting through gears manually instead of looking at big screens, lots of electronics, and not being able to hear the engine. That's just a couple benefits I can think of driving an old vehicle, but let's get into the cons. So the first major con with a lot of old vehicles, they are slow. Getting on the freeway with this thing with the manual transmission, I'm definitely holding up traffic, but once I get up to speed, it's not too bad. The second real major con I wanted to talk about is safety. This vehicle in particular, I'm lucky it does have seat belts and a roll cage from the factory, which is great, but do keep that in mind if you're looking at a real old vehicle. And like I said, a lot of them don't even have airbags unless you're looking at a vehicle that's in the early to mid 2000s. Then some of them do. The next con I wanted to talk about is fuel economy. So the diesel engine under this hood gets pretty good fuel economy for the vehicle that it is, but it's going to be nowhere near as good as a brand new vehicle. I think in this vehicle I'm pulling about 20 to 25 miles per gallon. Now keep in mind that is with the 33-inch mud tires and the lift, and the vehicle itself is not aerodynamic at all. Of course, with the diesel, you're going to get a little bit better fuel mileage than you will with the gas engines, especially from Toyota. But with a brand new diesel engine, I mean, you have diesel cars that are pulling upwards of 50 miles per gallon if you get into the real small stuff. The bigger Dodge trucks and things like that still get about what this gets, but you have a lot longer range because the fuel tank is bigger. That's the other thing. On a lot of old vehicles, the fuel tanks are not big, so frequent stops. But this vehicle still does me really good for daily commuting because it is the diesel. I get decent enough fuel mileage. I can go to and from work all week without having to fill up. But if it was gas, I may not recommend commuting, particularly with a Land Cruiser or anything from the 80s or 90s that's lifted. You're going to get pretty bad fuel economy. I would look into something that has a V6 engine. You're going to get a lot better fuel economy. If you're considering commuting in a quote-unquote beater car that you're going to spend anywhere from $2,500 to 10 grand on nowadays, even 10 grand is a beater, you're going to probably expect not the greatest fuel economy. There's still plenty of old cars out there though that get decent fuel economy. I just encourage you to do your research, and if you do get into a diesel like this, make sure you really do your research on what diesel engine you're buying. This vehicle has a heater, no AC right at the moment because it actually went out on me. Now, I think the AC just needs to be charged, which if you know anything about ACs and older vehicles, it's fairly simple. If you take it to a mechanic, they're probably going to want a couple $100, but there's actually plenty of ways you can do that yourself. But no other creature comforts, no heated seats, no heated steering wheel, nothing like that like some of the newer cars do have. Parts can be hard to find. It depends what old vehicle that you have. This one in particular is kind of a specialty thing. If it's an older Chevy or something, pretty much any auto parts store, at least here in the United States, is going to have parts for it. It can be a little tricky to find parts for this particular Toyota. Things that were made here in the United States from Chevy and Toyota, all the old vehicles, pretty much all auto parts stores have all your small parts. And I can still find quite a bit of small parts for this. Pretty much anything that has to do with running gear, axles, even some of the stuff with the engine. It's the interior parts that are hard to find for this guy. So not everyone should just go out and sell their new car to buy an old car or drive their old car when they could go out and buy a new car. But I do think there's a certain sense of freedom it gives you driving an old vehicle down the road, not having 15 different screens and computers in order to operate your vehicle properly. You can just get in it, fire it up, smell the gas or diesel burning, and you can just go. And for the next week, an old Land Cruiser is all I'm really gonna need. I'm taking this thing on a 10-day Eastern Sierra Mountains excursion. We're gonna hit hot springs, we're gonna go off-roading, backpacking, we're gonna catch a ton of fish, and we're gonna be having a great time. So if you guys want to, please subscribe to the channel and turn post notifications on, the little bell icon. And if you're on a TV watching this video, go ahead and navigate to my channel icon and click subscribe. All right guys, we'll see you in about a week. Have a good one. If you like this video and want to see more, tap the video on the screen or check out the link in my description. We've got a ton of videos just like this one. And don't forget to click subscribe and hit the bell notification so you never miss an upload. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.